It's a pleasure to have you here this morning. We're coming to you live from our studios in Kokumlemle, Accra. We are also on DSTV channel 421, GoTV 144, and around the world at myjoyonline.com. Now, pressure group Occupy Ghana has condemned the disregard for COVID-19 protocols during the funeral of former CEO of the Forestry Commission and member of the NPP, Kojo Osuefriye. Videos from the funeral held over the weekend show hundreds of people thronging the hometown of the late politician. The major concern of most critics is that the president, his vice, and many other top politicians were in attendance. In fact, the police, which is supposed to enforce the president's directive on COVID protocols, was also there. I'll bring you more on what Occupy Ghana has been saying in its statement. Occupy Ghana has watched with consternation news reports, videos and photographs of the funeral and burial of New Patriotic Party politician and former Chief Executive of the Forestry Commission of Ghana, Mr. Kojo Osuefriye, which event packed thousands of politicians, well-wishers and mourners into a park with minimal mask wearing, absolutely no social distancing, and a wanton disregard for the funeral restrictions imposed by government. We do not think that what happened did justice to the memory of a man who was reputed to be a man of discipline. In our press release on 2nd May 2021 regarding the holding of the Christ Embassy religious event at the Fantasy Dome, we thought no reminders were needed that the dangerous and deadly COVID-19 was still present and active among us. In that release, we hailed governments in possession of protocols by law, which we believe demand compliance by all. To wake up to contrary behavior by prominent members of the same government and other politicians after we have seen the colossal human disaster that has unfolded in India caused by unrestrained political activities and religious events that did not respect COVID-19 protocols is both disappointing and frightening. We cannot show such a remarkable sense of recklessness and abandon in these times and not expect to reap disastrous and possibly deadly consequences. We need no reminders that by exercising bad judgment in releasing Aisha 1, government created a defiant Galamsey population on its hand, and more destruction of our water bodies and forests ensued until it had to resort to illegal and populist remedy of burning excavators to try and stem the tide of evil genie unleashed with the release of Aisha 1. Similarly, this disregard of the law will embolden several people to treat COVID-19 protocols with disdain and contempt. Now, the statement continues to say, we saw and read about the police charging the people who organized the Christ Embassy event with offenses under the Imposition of Restrictions Act. We have seen the police resort to court injunctions and threats of force to stop the planned Fix Ghana protests and demonstrations with the weak excuse that they will defy the same act. We hasten to ask whether the government has any moral authority now where these matters are concerned. While extending to Sir John and his family all the deserving courtesies, respect and condolences, the irony is not lost on us that due to COVID-19, a British royal and duke had only 30 people in attendance at his funeral. The whole world witnessed it, and we thought much lessons could have been gleaned from that utterly humane event around a person of global stature. This behavior of people in position to know better is deeply worrying, and while we can only pray that it doesn't happen, if in weeks this event turns out to be a super spreader event with more deaths and hospitalizations, government will have no one but itself to blame for its inability and unwillingness to show a better example. We repeat our oft-repeated call on all Ghanaians to keep respecting the COVID-19 protocols in all situations. We must protect ourselves and our loved ones, even when people who should know better break the law while enforcing it against others. Yours for God and country, Occupy Ghana. Now, that was quite a lengthy one, but we had to bring you all the details. And there you have it, Occupy Ghana releasing a statement. But earlier, that was on Saturday, on Newsfile, Samson Ladi Ayenene had this to say about that event.
We don't have to go to court to get them properly sanctioned. And for implementation of the sound reforms advised by the eminent Emil Short Commission, ordinary citizens must be witnessing the acts of total disregard for due process and law without any consequence. There is real danger with general compliance and law enforcement, especially when people in authority and those making the laws are seen to disregard the law or break it without any consequence. You don't need a prophet to say that. Our honorables made the imposition of restrictions law at the site of COVID-19. It empowers Mr. President to issue executive instruments and, as and when advised by the experts during the pandemic. This is because COVID-19 is a public health crisis for which government must protect lives. You banned rallies, political rallies, yet you broke the law to campaign for votes. We saw you politicians break the law with impunity, but only poor citizens got arrested and punished with fines and jail terms for not wearing masks, among others. Recently, the Christ Embassy Church got into trouble for breaking the law you keep renewing each month for very good reasons. You have banned funerals, allowing only private burials with only 25 participants, also for very good reasons. Families are denied the bodies of their relatives killed by COVID-19 because, by the signs and advice from the experts, you must insist such corpses are buried immediately without ceremony. You just broke that law again with all who matter in your government. News broke in July 2020 that my good friend Sir John was overcome by COVID-19. You put your life in danger filing past COVID-19 corpse displayed in the public to a great deal of mourners who were not observing the COVID-19 protocols. The police that supervise all this is the same that is shamelessly using the power of the state. I mean, the people's power to suppress the people, seeking to do what they call the fix the country protest in the name of enforcing the law. If things continue this way, soon you will not be able to continue the selective animal farm enforcement of the laws you disregard with impunity. I sit here hosting this show, and anytime I sit without my mask, I get calls from authority and leadership saying that I must show example by wearing my mask. Because of that, and for the protection you offer me by making these laws, I'm going to wear my mask once again right now. Leaders know the way. They go the way, and they show the way. Let your example fix the law. It will fix the country.
So that's Samson's take on the funeral of the former CEO of the Forestry Commission and what we saw to be the total disregard for COVID protocols. Well, thankfully, we've been joined on the line by lawyer Martin KPEBU. We want to delve into the legalities of this event. Thank you very much for your time here this morning. So let's talk about the impact of what happened over the weekend on the case that Occupy Ghana cites, the one involving the Christ Embassy Church holding an event that disregarded COVID protocols. What will this event do to that case and pursuing it?
Oh, definitely. On the face of it, it will convey a message of discrimination, okay, to the public. That is to say that some people have more rights at law than others. That's why it is. You see, because once the Christ Embassy pastors are being prosecuted, and yes, we've had another one where there is apparently a breach of the COVID rules, and it doesn't seem there will be a prosecution. It's going to convey a message of discrimination, yes. But in May, let's quickly add this one that, yes, under the law, for the president, we cannot prosecute him while he's in office. You see that? So it looks like practical. We are confronted with a practical situation that the Constitution doesn't allow such prosecution while is in office, because the Constitution wants him to have the fullest attention. And you see that practically, if he has an interact, he's gone with other dignitaries, then you would see that it would kind of rob off them. For lack of a better way. In other words, the immunity will be stretched in this case to cover them, because that they are performing they are helping the president in this instance, so it would appear. So, these are early days here. So this particular story, it's developing. Maybe we'll have to really look at the rules, okay? So what probably can happen is that maybe the police would have to come up with definitely. You see, I think the better way out of this is that we should look at the Institution of Restrictions Act again, and the executive instrument, so that once we change the sanctions regime, then this wouldn't be a big issue. Currently under the law, the minimum fine is 12,000 Ghana, and then the minimum term of imprisonment is 4 years. So, for minimum of 4 years imprisonment and up to 10 years imprisonment, and then minimum of 12,000 for the fine, and then up to 64,000. So this has made them too draconian. So to the extent that some citizens will face this and other citizens will not face the same prosecution because they were with the president, it's going to send a very bad signal. So let's think through it again and see. One of the easiest would be that, look, we'll have to stop the Christ Embassy prosecution and then amend the law. This issue of amending the law is been on the task for too long, because the law is not workable. 12,000 Ghana today, like I keep saying, ask yourself, is the minimum wage? Has it gone to 12 cities and something? So if you multiply, the minimum wage is now going to 370 something cities. Yes, so it means that somebody on minimum wage, the whole of the year's salary cannot even pay the 12,000 Ghana cities. The same thing for the NAPO employees, which is the government's flagship program for solving unemployment. You see, they earn, is it 700 or 750 Ghana? The same thing. You look at national service. So where you have millions of people not earning enough, then definitely the law is out of touch. Those who made the law, they were just totally out of touch with the conditions on the ground. Okay. And where you make the law very unjust, is the implementation itself will be a problem. So you see that the police themselves have a problem implementing it. So if, let's say, we had amended the law and the sanctions were very reasonable, maybe 500 Ghana or 1,000, then I don't think this comparison would have arisen. I'm sure people would have understood.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So lawyer, who will be held responsible? I doubt it will happen. But if the police decides to effect an arrest, like they did in the Christ Embassy situation, would it be organizers or participants or both?
Yeah, so as already said, in that case, both those who organize and then participants. But remember, as you already said, when it comes to a participant, the chief participant, the president, is new. And so it would go practically in this case for the other dignitaries that were with him. You see, because they went to help him perform a function. So practically, I don't see how you would take out the president and seek to, prosecute the rest. Because some were helping him to perform a function he had agreed to go and perform.
Okay.
Yes.
Finally, before I let you go, lawyer, so there are those, like Samson, when he did his take on Newsfile, he started by talking about the abuse of power and the law by state security officials, and what we've seen recently with regards to Sir John's funeral. Looking at the whole legal system and how there appears to be a selective application of the law, let's look at the long-term implication of this on the general legal system and even the citizens' desire to comply with laws and directives.
Well, what I would say, to be clear, I think that what we should continue to do, just like you're doing now, and also I gave in the answer, please, the law is still the law. There is this principle that, so let's clarify this. You know, when you ask the question about the impact of Sir John's funeral, the breach of the rules there against the pending court case, please, let's clarify. The words I used was that morally targeting the police. But please, on the ground, the police can pretend, no, they are not swayed by moral arguments, and so they are going on with the prosecution. So for citizens, please, as you've seen it yourself, naturally, to face it, some people have some more rights at law because of the kind of work that they do, as I said, the president and his entourage, okay? So let's not copy them.
Sorry, I know I said this finally, but your response has just prompted another question. So if I, as a citizen, think, in this case, if the police decides that, look, it's a moral argument, we are still going to pursue the Christ Embassy case, what options are there for me legally to also ensure that, look, it wasn't only the Christ Embassy Church that flouted these directives, there was also an event like this. How can I legally get the police to act on this case as well?
So this one is pure theory. In law, there's what we call mandamus. So before then, it means a citizen will lodge a complaint with the police. So a citizen will go and lodge a complaint that at Sir John's funeral, he has a citizen who sees videos, and maybe he also has copies where the COVID rules were free. So it's asking the police to investigate and to prosecute. Now, assuming the police don't do anything, then he can go to court for a mandamus, okay, to compel the police. But there are some cases at law where they stated that the courts don't lightly grant an order for mandamus that police should go and effect an arrest when they think there is no basis. You see, so those are English decisions from England. So in Ghana, I'm not aware that we tested that you want to compel police to go and initiate. And don't even forget, the prosecution, the power to even prosecute doesn't belong to the police. By Article 8, it belongs to the Attorney General. So even if the police start, the Attorney General can stop the police. So, we are in a democracy. So I like the way you're asking the person hard questions. So why not? We can develop our own jurisprudence. So somebody can, it's because you asked, that's why I'm answering theoretically. Because Ghana, there's no decided case on this point. So a citizen can then go to court that the police have refused to act, and so he wants to compel. In this case, in Africa, then he will even be joining the Attorney General, because as I said, if the Attorney General doesn't agree, the police cannot do anything. So he will be looking for an order against the Attorney General and the police to go on with that case. It's interesting. Let's see what if a citizen picks it up, let's see what the court will say.
I appreciate your time this morning. Thank you so much for sharing your legal insights with us. That's lawyer Martin KPEBU. Now, talking about the criticisms just coming in, the Ghana Medical Association has also released a statement condemning the disregard. Let me bring you details of that particular statement. Well, it says the Ghana Medical Association has noted with disappointment the total disregard for COVID-19 protocols during the final funeral rites of the former Chief Executive Officer of the Forestry Commission of Ghana, lawyer Kojo Usuefrie, aka Sir John. This mass gathering of people with complete disregard for physical distancing and limited use of face masks occurred in the wake of a caution by the World Health Organization to some African countries to prepare for what appears to be a new surge in COVID-19 cases in Africa. The GMA was therefore shocked to observe that a nation like ours, struggling to vaccinate its population, will permit such a potential super spreader event to take place and be attended by top government functionaries, including His Excellency the President and the Vice President of the Republic. The memories of the catastrophic consequences of the surge in COVID-19 cases in January, February 2021, including that of the many lives lost and the pressure our healthcare system came under during that surge, is fresh on our minds. And don't forget, these are people who are frontliners, so they know what they're talking about. That statement continues to say we should not forget that that surge was occasioned by similar mass gatherings associated with political activities and Christmas festivities in November, December 2020. Well, government says there's no data to show that political activities contributed to the surge. There's a whole debate about that. But let me move on with the statement. The GMA condemns such activities that violate our protocols and has the tendency to reverse all gains made in our fight against COVID-19. We call on the law enforcement agencies to investigate and deal with the organizers of this and any similar events to serve as a deterrent to others who intend to endanger the public health of our nation. We call on the Inspector General of Police to act without fear or favor in this regard. Interesting. Something we just spoke about with Lawyer KPEBU. Now, the general public is encouraged to continue to abide by all the COVID-19 protocols and refrain from such mass gatherings and activities that endangers our collective survival. The GMA wishes to reiterate that COVID-19 is still real and a present threat to our country and calls on all to adhere to the preventive protocols for the safety of all. This is signed by the GMA's President, Dr. Frank Nkobia, and its General Secretary, Dr. Justice Youngson. Away from COVID-19 and Sir John's funeral, the NDC's 2020 running mate, Professor Jane Nana Opoku-Agyeman, has accused the government of using threats of transfer to silence teachers who attempt to voice challenges facing the senior high school program. The free senior high school policy has come under public scrutiny, with many parents demanding government improves its quality. Speaking on the probe with MFR Pau, the prof said censorship of critical voices will impact the quality of the program.
And what hurts me is that you can use transfer as punishment. You should never do that, because the children in the rural areas must go to school too. And if you are telling the teacher that by speaking out, I'm transferring you to a rural area, it means you are not serious about raising the quality of education among the rural area people from where we all came. We shouldn't just sit here and forget. We are supposed to be here to support and to make things better everywhere.
Okay.
So it shouldn't be trivialized into saying that, oh, there are problems everywhere. There will be problems going forward too.
Now, the former education minister called for a national dialogue to review the shortcomings and successes of the free senior high school program. She also challenged government to show evidence whether it's been able to fulfill its promise to convert all-day schools to boarding schools and expand infrastructure.
a former minister, a vice presidential candidate, so former minister to the other, at least to the current minister, if you need to speak to him directly, Dr. Yaoseye Duchum, in terms of rethinking and reshaping the current free SHS policy as we have it now, what would it be?
First of all, he must admit. He must come clean and say, I need help. We'll give the help. But if the reaction from government, that's quoting you, that there's nothing wrong and everything is fine, I'd have no advice to give a person like that who doesn't need advice. Okay? So if he admits there are problems, or if you can turn the question around and ask me, if you don't mind. I'm a teacher, so you see, sometimes I do that. Of course. And if you ask me, what would you have done if you had won the election and you had this problem? Then I'll tell you something else, so you can do that.
Okay. So if you had won the election,
I've posed my own
that's
question,
okay.
I may as well answer my own question.
What would you have done differently?
I think I made a few points at the beginning. First of all, it's open the space for people to speak. Don't go in cowering anyone. That if you speak, I'm transferring you. If you speak, I'm demoting you. If you speak, that kind of harassment and attitude will not give you the results you need. So that would have been the first to go. Talk to them and see. You've had Joy, you did the interviews. What did they say? So you have the answer to that one. so that will have to go. You have to be willing to listen. You see, sometimes it's not always what you want to hear that people say, because you are not everywhere. They are there, and they are telling you these are the issues. Maybe they've said it even in a way that's annoying. But you see, you can put that aside and listen to the content of the complaint. And it's your duty to go and fix it, you fix it.
From where you sit, finally, are you sure that there is hope when it comes to education in Ghana?
If the people in charge are saying there are no problems, then we have a very big problem. Okay? I don't know what there is to hide. And if you admit you need help, there's nothing wrong with it.
Also, we've been hearing from the Education Minister, Dr. Yaoseye Duchum, who says that in the next 3 years, the government will spend about 1.5 billion cedis to deal with infrastructure, and this will help end the controversial double-track system. And we know that a lot of parents have condemned that particular feature of the free senior high school program. Let's now take you to Parliament, where we expect anytime soon Deputy Minister Designate for Energy, Andre Japamesa, to appear before the Appointments Committee. My colleague Joseph Opoku-Gakpo is there for us. Hello, Joseph. What can you report?
Good morning.
Hello, Joseph. If you can hear me, can you tell us how preparations are going for that particular vetting?
So, Ben, is the chairman of Parliament's Appointment Committee, Jose Usu, just walked into the room. We are expecting the first of the 4 candidates who will be vetted today to then step in. 4 of them are appearing before the committee today. George Mrekuduka, who is Deputy Minister Designate for the Lands and Natural Resources Ministry, will be responding to questions before the committee. You know, there are a lot of issues with illegal mining activities, and he's from the Takwa constituency, which is considered one of the key areas where illegal mining has allegedly been ongoing. We're expecting questions with regards to all of that coming up. He's been involved in the Japa deal because he was the chairman of the Mineral Income Investment Fund as well. We're expecting questions to come up with regards to that. And then you would recall that he had a brawl with the NPP's Western Regional Secretary some time ago in the course of a meeting of the executives there, Charles Bisiu, and we're expecting questions in that regard. Apart from him, Reverend Intim Fojo, who is the Deputy Minister Designate for Education, would also be appearing before the committee. The issues having to do with free SHS has been topical, about whether it's produced students with the best of performance or otherwise. That would be addressed to a certain extent, as well as Andrew Japamesa, who is also the MP for 2nd D and as well Deputy Minister Designate for the Energy Ministry. He will be appearing before the committee, and we're expecting questions around the energy crisis that the nation had been facing for quite a while and the debt in the energy sector and all. And then finally, Tina Mensah, who is the Deputy Minister Designate for Health, will also be appearing before the committee. And issues having to do with COVID-19, Ghana's fight, the efforts to ensure there are enough vaccines for all citizens are some of the issues that are likely to come up. So it looks like it would be a very interesting session today. All the 4 individuals are members of parliament who are going in to serve as deputy ministers, even though Tina Mensah had previously been deputy health minister, even in the 4-year duration of President Akufo-Addo during his first term. So you're waiting to see how those conversations will pan out.
Are they going to come in the order in which you've just mentioned? And what time should we expect this to start? And so, Benes, any moment from now, we're expecting the first of the 4 to actually get in. And that will be George Mrekuduka. After that, at 12 o'clock, you're expecting Reverend Intim Fojo to then come in, after which then you're expecting Andrea Japamesa somewhere around 3 o'clock, and most likely around 5 o'clock. Tina Mensah will be the last individual who will be appearing before the committee. Usually, when there are people who are already members of the House and probably have served in some leadership position of a sort, like George Mrekuduka, who was vice chairman of the, who was actually chairman of the Mines and Energy Committee, the sessions usually do not drag that much. But looking at the weighty nature of the issues, from energy crisis to free SHS, are some of the issues that are likely to come up. We wouldn't be surprised to see some of these sessions dragged even beyond the about 2-hour duration that is expected that each of these sessions will take. Joseph, we'll leave it here for now. Hopefully it will start anytime soon and we will join you. So do stay with us. We will take you live to Parliament when the voting starts. We are told George Mrekuduka, who is Deputy Minister Designate for Lands and Natural Resources, will appear first. Now, environmental officials in Waliwale in the Northeast region are calling for the immediate gazetting of environmental bylaws to ensure effective management of sanitation in the country. According to them, despite the existence of these sanitation bylaws in various assemblies, the lack of approval has limited the power of implementation and enforcement. The officers are also blaming politicians and some chiefs in the area for meddling in their work by sometimes ordering them to stop taking action against persons who flout the law. Correspondent Ilyasu Tanko has more.
The officers were speaking at a cleanup exercise held in the municipal capital to commemorate World Environmental Day. They said gazetting of the bylaws will empower them to deliver their mandate without fear or favor.
The municipal laws are not gazetted. So if you summon somebody, it's always difficult for you to send a person to court. But if they gazette our laws, we are now having the laws in our hands. So we will summon people and get them arrested, so that whatever they are doing, they will stop doing it. Because if you arrest 1 to 3 people, everybody will get the information. So they will stop the messes that they are doing around. But if the laws are not there and we cannot do anything, because if you go to summon somebody, if you send them to court, they will go back. Or at times you send them to court, political people will come in and intervene. So we cannot do the work. So if you are going to summon somebody, you will be thinking if you even summon that person, at the end, you will not get any good results, because political people will come out, or the elders or the chiefs will intervene into your work. So whatever you were expecting that person to do, that person will not do the work. So the work will still be there and it will not be done. So it's always difficult for us to summon somebody, because if you even summon that person, because the laws are not there to back you up, they will come in and intervene so that the work will not be able to go on well.
I would have loved the assembly to gazette the laws so that the environmental health officers can do their work perfectly, or if they refuse to comply by the environmental health officer, whatever they are telling them to do, if they are not willing to comply, then as the laws are gazetted, we can give them summons. If they didn't comply, we'll send them to court. And it will generate income for the assembly. But since our laws are not gazetted, sometimes our work, when you even send someone there, because the laws are not gazetted, finally the case will just go like that. It will just end without them taking any other actions.
The Walewale town for years has been grappling with the challenge of poor sanitation, with indiscriminate dumping of rubbish, dirty and choked gutters, uncollected rubbish containers and open defecations, constantly threatening the health and well-being of the people. Also speaking at the exercise, Assemblyman for the Foni electoral area, Mohammed Sani.
I want to appeal to Assembly to come to our aid in terms of getting us a container which we will put here, a sustainable one though, so that we'll make sure that the people dump their rubbish there. I will make sure, I will take that kind of lead road to make sure that the people put their rubbish on the container. Apart from that, you can see that it's not only about the rubbish. We don't have a toilet facility here, and my area is an old area. Yes, even though the assembly is emphasizing that we should build toilets, we should construct toilets in our houses, but we don't have spaces in our houses. So they need to give us a public toilet. Yes, other than that, open defecation will continue unabated.
The municipal chief executive, Arimiya Osomolaki, who led the cleanup exercise, in response assured the environmental officers of his full support, but also appeal for attitudinal change.
I want to appeal to the residents to take our own health as important as anything. God himself likes those who are clean. And you can see in the Bible, cleanness is next to what? Godliness. So if you are not clean, you cannot even get closer to your Lord. And then the Quran said, Inna Allah tayyibun la yukubalu illa tayyibun. Now God is clean, he will never accept your prayers if you are not clean. And I know, inshallah, they will all help me, help the municipal assembly for us to make Walewale one of the neatest places in Ghana.
The World Environmental Day, celebrated annually on 5th June, is the United Nations principal vehicle for encouraging awareness and action for the protection of the environment. Ilyasu Tanko reporting.
Now this afternoon, the newly approved transport fares will begin to bite hard on public transport users. Last week, the GPLTU announced 13% increment in fares to cushion transport operators in the face of rising fuel cost. Even though the review took effect on Saturday, June 5, the new week is revealing the real impact on passengers. My colleague Manuel Cranting has been speaking to some public transport users who were caught in the Monday morning rush hour.
An Odoko-bound trotro from Circle. Before now, the fare cost about 2 cedis, 50 pesos from Kwame Nkrumah Circle to Odoko. Well, this morning, that's a different picture. It's costing 2 cedis, 80 pesos. That's a 30 pesos increment from the old price that they used to pay. And that culminating to what you call a 13% increment announced by the transport operators. I've seen the general compliance in the car, perhaps because of what you call a proof of the newly agreed fares, and that's what you're seeing in your shot currently. It is hanging in almost every trotro that I have seen this morning, just to do away with what you call argument and fisticuffs within the vehicle. But as we're doing this, let me just try and speak to the mate and ask what the mood has been so far since they began charging the new fares. Papa mate, morning, bibi aboko. Na on share max ni kakrai. Aha. Na da be na mo Saturday fares. Saturday. Na mo strategy and obi atua obi comply.
Yeah, obi ankasa.
Obi ankasa.
No.
E chese obi ani age.
Obi atase.
Obi ani age. Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure.
And then some go for no motua no motika no mbi say omo. Madam, Adia, you are happy paying what 30% more for the same distance, correct?
Yes, because I have no choice, and that's the fare they are collecting, so I have to pay.
You have no choice. And Ben, this is the hustling and bustling in the Ghanaian church shore. You'd have to get down, get somebody to drop. This is not your typical Uber or your Bolt, or as for you who drives wherever you go. Well, we don't drive. We sit in a church and we have to drop for other people to drop and then join again. But Ajay, you're telling me that you have no other option than to pay. But I mean, when you look at how much you're earning and then you look at how much you're having to pay for the same distance, I mean, as a citizen, as somebody who bought the transport vehicles, how does that make you feel?
Well, I'm not happy because your salary is still the same, but you have to pay more than what you have been paying for transport. And they are not at fault. The prices have been increased, so they have to also increase in order to break even. So I have to pay it like that.
You have to do it like that. Let me talk to you about the Biaboko. I say, Casano, I say, one person over Kebi. Now, all the church first now, Utiano, when you're the home.
Meninje, because me free Jolu Naba. 50 Jolu basic circle 280. 50 can the circle basic anishi 250. To him say, Hammy, I was so can they say, and Toshi. To the other free fiaba, no be dino as I could fear. The Lord friend the higher pa.
The other Sika be fiaba, over the answer. The
answer I could fear.
Lord friend didn't.
Oh, Lord friend didn't. 50 Joluba, I calculate Shane out.
And at the Biaba.
10 cities, 10
cities every day.
10 cities. The Sabbath look and Toshi, wait to me grab a bobo or class I could fear.
Ben is telling me that he's coming all the way from Jolu and he has to do like a transit, you know, drop from one vehicle and join another. And we're at that point again, we'll have to drop for people to get down from the vehicle. But just to explain to you what the gentleman over there was telling me, he was talking to me about how, you know, a day's fares could cost as much as 10 Ghana cedis just from Jolu to his base at Abosukan, where he actually works. Let me talk to some more students. Well, he goes to the Accra Academy. What about you? Are you affected?
Yes, I'm affected.
How is that?
Because when I come, they give me only 10 cedis.
They give you 10 cedis?
I start at Big Farm. I have to pay 2 cedis, 50 pesos, then come to Circle, then come and pick another car. If my chop money is even part.
Your chop money is also part? So after paying everything, what are you left with?
Left with 4 cedi, 20 pesos.
4 cedis, 20%. You're a day student, so you don't go for dining, do you?
I don't go for dining.
Okay. So you have to live on 4 cedis every day?
Yes. If I'm coming to, I'll pick another car.
You know what 4 cedis can do? You have to stick to, you know, a regular gobe and plantain to be able to survive on 4 cedis. But let me talk to this lady here, Mama Biaboko. Who said now? I saw Sigano. I didn't also Sigano.
Yeah, be a yes, sir.
Okay. Ufi neba.
That's me Newtown.
Ufi Newtown. Until Oba no man increase the price.
Me kwejuma. Ewo kokonte.
Ewo kokonte. No man increase the price.
Say Lord friend dear, anu ayedin pa. Anu ayedin cause ukokura wan ton ade kwa na wo dwin Lord friend. Say me ko ba kura mpa. Say first let easy. They say on my son to Lord friend until me pia to say la BCD. In that aunt. Into anu ayedin.
It's a man or ton ade na.
Oh, 2 days be cry. One and I make 1 ton idea kana would you Lord fear with the best now pay fear na yedin. They say marketing who sounds so one palace who fear would you who bomb people say the Lord fair dear and why yedin.
Some road transport users there sharing how the latest increase in the fares is affecting them. You're watching News Desk with me, Bernice Abubedu-Lansa. Thank you so much for your company. Coming up is business, and Darryl Kwa will be telling us about how the Ghana Revenue Authority is intensifying sensitization among taxpayers in the Ashanti region. Do stay for details of that and more.
Hi, good morning. Welcome to Business. My name is Darryl Kwao. The Ghana Revenue Authority is intensifying sensitization amongst taxpayers in the Ashanti region on the new VAT levies. The exercise is geared towards helping taxpayers calculate the levies introduced by government. Mona Lisa Frimpong has more in this report.
To support the COVID-19 expenditure, the government in March introduced a 1% increase in the VAT flat rate. The GRA is sensitizing customers on the implementation of the new VAT levy. Samuel Sechijodu is the area manager for the Ghana Revenue Authority in Ashanti.
So we want to educate our taxpayers, the accountants and the auditors to know how to, and first to understand the new system and then to know how to calculate it. Because, for example, the new VAT levies that have come, VAT levies, they started collecting in May, and by June ending they have to start paying. So most of them have to know how to calculate it, so that to help their clients, so they can present very good figures to the office. I mean, the accurate figures to the office.
The GRA is implementing a cashless system across its offices in Ghana to reduce the spread of COVID-19. The move by GRA is targeted at achieving the national agenda of a cashless society.
There's a new cashless system. We want to avoid too much contact at the GRA office. Now the whole world is going digital, and GRA is going digital. So very soon you will not need to come to the office to come and pay taxes. You can just either sit in your office, do the online payment or online filing, or you sort of bankers, and then they will pay for you. There is no need to come to the office. I think it also helps in this social distancing.
Some participants commended the Ghana Revenue Authority for the move.
And for the new taxes, although we are feeling it, but you cannot complain because the government needs taxes to able to undertake its project and other things. And it's a laudable idea because from time to time we